Okay. Yes, in the previous session, what we discussed, so we have gone through SAP server, how to log in SAP server, and how to access SAP ABAP program editor or ABAP editor. And we have created one simple program, right? What is the transaction code to create a program?
SC38.
SC38.
SC38 is the transaction code, right? In yesterday's session, we discussed that for every operation or any if you want to execute anything, we need to use one particular transaction code in SAP. There are transaction codes for technical developers. There are some transaction codes which functional consultants will use. Okay. For example, to create purchase orders, to create sales orders, to create bills, billing, right? There are some configurations and business transaction codes which will be used by functional consultants. And as ABAP developers, you are going to use separate set of technical T codes where we develop the application. Okay. SC38 is one of such transaction code. Okay.
Clear, sir.
Yeah, few transaction codes as a ABAP developer, you may need to use few business transaction codes also when you need to test the data. Okay, when you need to test your application, like it's like unit testing. When you need to do some unit testing, you may need to access some business transaction codes as well. Now, what is the statement we used to print the output?
Right.
Right keyword.
Right keyword we have used. This one. In other programming languages, I think in C, what is the statement to print the output? Is it printf? I think there are two
Yes,
statements,
sir.
right? Printf and scanf. I think in
Scanner.
C, we use a printf. So here in ABAP, we have write statement to display the output. Okay. This is very basic statement which we use to display the output. But usually in these days, we are not using write statements to displaying the output. We have some advanced features. Okay, we'll be discussing more in the next session. But for now, for our basic practice, we should start using displaying the output using write statement. Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
And again, I'm going back to the data. I'm going back to data. What is data? What is data?
Particular information.
Some meaningful information. Data means some meaningful information. Okay, what is metadata?
Data about data.
Some meaningful information we call as data. What is metadata? It is about data or the properties of the data. Can you tell me one example for data? I'll give you one example.
Student data.
Yeah, student name. For example, student 100 is some name, one student name. Let's assume student 100 is a name of a student. Okay, what is this? This is data. Now what is metadata? Now what is metadata?
100,
Metadata is
100,
character length 40. What is this? This is metadata. What is it explaining about? Property of this data. What is this data? Student name. It contains numbers and some characters, right? Alphabets, numbers and alphabets. The type of data we called as character data, which can accept alphabets, numbers, and any special characters also. And what is the maximum length? What is the maximum length allowed for student name?
40.
40. So the property of this type or this field, student name field, is data type is character and length is 40. For example, take, let's assume this is a phone number. What is the property of this is one data. Let's assume phone number is one data. What about the metadata of phone number?
10.
Integer,
int,
integer or number.
le,
Usually we take number. Yeah, let's assume integer.
length
Integer,
10,
maximum length 10.
10.
This is metadata of phone number. Okay, it's a very common definition we read. What is metadata? Means data about data. What is that? What is that? If you need to explain, you need to explain in this way. So metadata describes data type, length, right, of the value. What type of value it is, and what is the length of that value. That is
Value.
metadata. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, city. If you take Hyderabad, what is metadata? It is character,
Char,
right?
3.
Character, maybe some 50, right? What do we call this? Character, integer. What do we call all this? They are called data type, and
data type,
this is
length.
length. For any value, for any value, that might be a master data or transactional data. For any value, there should be a type and a length. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So we have date types, time values. We store dates, times. We store different like currency values like salary, total amount, quantity, like what is the total measurement. These kind of values, each value contains its own corresponding data type. Okay. Now let's see data types in ABAP. Few data types which we use in ABAP. Data type C, these are called predefined data types. These are called predefined data types. Before going to use any value, you need to assign type and length. Clear? If you need to use any data in your programs, so that should be assigned with some type and length. Okay. What is C? C means character data type. What is the value that we can pass for character data type? We can pass alphabets, numbers, special characters. Any value the character data type can accept. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Data type C. We also represent it as char, char. Okay. It can accept any value including special characters. Okay, clear? Now coming to the next data type, n. What is n? N is for numbers. N is for numbers. It can accept only numbers. It cannot accept alphabets or special characters. Even if you pass, even if you pass alphabets to number type, it will just ignore. It will just ignore the other format values like characters, like alphabets or special characters. It will accept only numbers. Okay. For example, you have a number type. For example, phone uh, phone equal to ABC 1 2 3 4 5. If you pass value like this to number type, what it will accept?
It cannot accept.
It will accept only numbers. It will ignore character type data.
ABC.
Okay, it won't accept this. It will accept these numbers, but it's not going to throw any error. Okay, it will just accept only numbers and ignore character type data. That is the property of number type. Okay, can you tell me one example for character data type? Type C. Can you tell me one example value for character data type? Name, city, country, right? Designation.
Employee.
Yeah, in some companies, employee ID also includes characters, right? But in some companies, they'll maintain only in numbers like 100, 101, 102 like that. In some companies, they maintain combination of both characters and numbers like IN 100, IN 101 like that. Okay. So for character, you can take a lot of examples like employee name, city, designation, right? Address. All of them are character data types. Email ID, right? Can you tell me examples for number data types? Numbers.
Mobile number. Phone number.
Yes.
Order purchase.
Sorry, which one?
Purchasing online order. OTP.
Order number. Yes, order number, OTP number, and you can take postal code. These are all numbers, right? Can we use number for values? For example, uh, value of one laptop is 30,000. To maintain that value, can we use number type?
Yes, no, sir.
Yes, sir.
It will accept since 30,000 it contains only numbers, it will accept, but it is not the right data type to use for values. Okay, because it won't contains decimal
Yeah.
places, decimal places. So how the number data type will be? It will just accept, but values might have decimals, right? For example, 50.50, right? It will contain decimal places also. For example, quantity also. If you take quantity 10,000 kgs or maybe 100 kgs, there might be value like this also, right? 100.30 kgs, right? If you take number, it won't accept these decimal
Decimal part.
places, decimal part. We have separate data type for values. Okay, number type is a general number value which will accept example like phone numbers, postal codes, right? Order number, right? General values, right? We can use number. Clear? And we need to provide length. What is the maximum length you want to use, right? What is the maximum length of phone number?
10.
10.
10 digit.
For that, we need to use phone number type number length 10.
10.
we need to specify that length. Okay, for character also we need to specify what is the length you want to use, what is the length you want to utilize for that particular value. We need to provide that type and maximum length you want to use. Okay, and you need to do some analysis of that value and you need to provide that length, right? So I'll give you one example. Whenever you fill some application forms, you might observe there is some limitation, right? Length limitation. You should enter your value only within that given space, right?
Yes, sir.
So here also we are defining some length for that value. Okay, so depends on your company requirement, you are going to define that length. What is the maximum length you want to allow? Okay,
Okay.
if you don't provide any length, what will happen for character type or number type? If you don't provide any length, you just provide a type C or type N, then is it going to accept any values?
Yes, sir. Accepts.
Which value it's going to accept? If you don't provide any length, if you don't provide any length and just provided the type, it will have a default length, that is 1. What is the default length? 1.
One.
It will accept only that one value, one character or one number. Okay, clear? If you don't provide any length,
Length.
default length is 1. Okay,
Okay.
now is everyone clear about character and number?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
So D means date. For dates, to store the date values, to handle the date values in ABAP or in database tables, what is the type you need to use? D
Date.
or
Date.
date. What is the length of the date? You don't need to provide any length for date. You don't need to provide any length specification for the date. You just need to maintain the data type. It will have its own standard length. That is 8. What is the default length of date data type?
8.
8.
8. 8. What is IP? IP means input. Input length. This is input length. OP means output length. Output
Output.
length is 10. It will automatically handle that. You don't need to do anything. It will automatically convert this internal format date into display format. What is internal format of the date in SAP? That is this: year, month and day. YYYYY MMDD. This is the internal date format in SAP. 8, right? Length is 8. Year 4, 2, month 2, day 2. 8, right? Total 8. This is the internal date format, right? What is the external date format? Display format. When we are displaying it in the output, what is the output format? 10, including
DDMMYYY.
separator. When we are displaying the output, we use some separator between days, months and year, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This output format might be different, depends on the user settings. As a user, you can set your system to display date in a specific format. Like for example, if you go to US, what is the output format they use? They use month, day and year. First, we usually how we use the date format in India? We use date, month and year, right? In the first place, we display date, and in second place we display month, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But in USA, how they follow? In first place, they display month. In second place, they display day. That is their date format. So this output date format can be different for different users. Depends on their settings. Okay, but this internal date format, this is same for any SAP user. It won't change for in any SAP system or any SAP user, right? If you open any SAP system, what will be the internal date format?
Year, month,
Month.
day.
Date.
Date. Year, month, date. This is same in any SAP system, right? Whenever you are writing any program, what you need to consider, internal date format or external date format? Internal date
Internal,
format,
sir.
it will always contains 8 as length and in the same date format. You need to pass in the same order. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Clear.
And external date format will be different, depends on the user settings. Okay. Clear?
Clear,
Clear.
sir.
And the time T. T is to maintain the time values in SAP system. What is the internal format for time? Internal length for time? Here also you don't need to provide any length like character or number. It will have its own length, that is 6. That is hours, minutes, seconds.
Seconds.
This is also same in any SAP system. Okay, hours, minutes and seconds without separator. This is the internal date format. When you are using it in your program, you should always consider the internal date format, not the external date format. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
And the external date format is 8. The length is
8.
8. It includes separator. When we are displaying in the output, it will automatically convert that output into internal format into external format. Sometimes we may need to do conversions in very rare cases, but usually system will handle that conversion as long as you are using proper data type. Okay. Now string type. What is string? Observe this value.
Collection of characters.
Characters, numbers and special characters. Have you observed any other data type similar to string?
Yes, sir. Character data type.
Yeah, character data type is also similar to string, but why we
String data
have
type.
a separate data type? For character data type, we can specify particular length. We can specify particular length. But for string, it is variable length. It will assign the size dynamically. Usually, we cannot define any specific length for string types, right? But for
Yes.
character types, we can define some limit or some specific length. Okay. But when in which scenario we use character and in which scenario we use a string, because both works in a similar fashion, right? Both accepts same kind of values, any value, including alphabets, numbers, and special characters. For example, if you take name should not be undefined, right? There should be some limit or length for names. So we define some length. In that case, what type of data type we use? String or character?
Character data type.
We can give character data type. City also. We go for character data type for a defined length. But when we go for string,
If you don't know the length of
yeah,
the character,
yes,
then at the time we will go with the string data type.
yes. If you are not sure or very certain about specific value, right? For example, if you take some comment section, right? When user is entering the comments, right, we are not sure, right? He might enter 10 words, 20 words, depends on his knowledge and his requirement. He might enter 100 words also. We are not sure, right? So that kind of values we use string types. Okay.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah. Now integer I. What is integer type? Integer type we use for values. Okay, integer type can accept negative values also. Integer values can accept negative values also, -1, -10, right? Negative values also. Okay, so when we have some counter values, when we need to count something, right, we can use integer types, right?
Sir, clear.
Here the integer type also cannot accept decimal places. It cannot accept decimal places. What happens if there is any decimal place?
It removes the decimal parts and take it as an
It will
normal
round the
value.
value. It will round the value. Okay, for example, 11 divided by 5, it is 2.2, right? 2.2. So number type anyway it won't accept. It will accept only 2. But if you pass it to the integer type, what it will do?
It's round the value.
It will round the value. What is the round value for 2.2?
2. 2
2,
only.
right? 2, because which functionality it supplies? Seal or floor in case of this 2.2.
Sorry, sir.
We have rounding functions, right? Seal, floor.
Okay, okay, sir.
Now
3.
it will round it to 3. Anything beyond 2.5, after zero point 0.5, it will round it to the upper value, right?
Next number.
Yeah, if it is less than zero point 0.5 up to 0.49, it will round it to the lower value, right? Floor. Seal is rounding it to upper value. Floor is rounding it to lower value. Okay? Yeah, anyway, you don't need to understand mathematics here, but just telling you. Now, floating point. F. Floating point values we use for it, any complex values. It can handle signs also, plus minus signs also. Okay, unlike integer. Okay, and packed decimal. We use very frequently. We very frequently use packed decimal for currencies, quantities like values, amount, quantity. These kind of values we use packed decimal. Type P. This is the initial length is 8. If you don't provide any length, the initial length is 8. But what is the maximum length you can provide? 16.
16.
16. And here you need to provide number of decimal places. Number of decimal places. How many decimal places you want to use? That is mandatory for packed decimal. Okay. The number of decimal places. Here, how many decimal places we are using? 2.
2.
Right? So you can also use 3. So you need to specify number of decimal places when you are using packed decimal. Okay. So what is the example values for packed decimal? Currency value, sorry, any amount or quantity. Okay. Clear?
Yes,
X.
sir, clear.
X is hexadecimal. Hex is hexadecimal value. If you take any value, for example, if you take A, it is character, right? For
Yes,
any
sir.
value, we'll be having some hexadecimal value. Some hexadecimal value. Let's see what is the hexadecimal value for A. What is the hexadecimal value for A?
41.
41. B, 42. Like that, you will be having a hexadecimal value for any value, right? You can convert into hexadecimal. The type of hexadecimal value store in which type of data types? Type X. Okay, we store hexadecimal values in type X. Okay,
X.
but we rarely use this hexadecimal types. Okay, and observe here, observe the conversion here once. Can we convert character into number? No. Character to character we can convert. Character to number we cannot convert. Character to integer we cannot convert. Right? Observe this cross mark.
Yes, sir.
Character to packed decimal we cannot convert. Character to floating point we cannot convert. We cannot convert, it means in general terms, but there are some functionalities in SAP, right? We called typecasting. Not only in SAP, in other technologies also we use the typecasting to convert the one data type to other data type. We need to apply that, but in general, character type cannot be passed to number type, right? But if you really need to pass it, you need to apply some typecasting functionalities. Okay, usually it won't accept like these. Wherever you see cross marks, you cannot convert. For number type can be converted into most of these types. You can pass the number values to all of these data types. Integer also accepts. Packed decimal also accepts here, but wherever you see some star, right, that means there is some rounding issues. There will be some rounding issues because packed decimal will be maintained in decimals, right? For example,
Yes, sir.
100.50. When you pass it to the number, you are not going to be like, you cannot maintain those decimal places in number. You are going to lose that values. Okay,
Yes, sir.
similarly integer also, but packed decimal and floating, it will accept decimal places. Okay, for floating point also you have conversion like rounding issues when we pass it to numeric and integer data types, number and integer data types. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
I'll give you an example. Let's say when we are creating a table, as I said earlier, so to create the table, what we do in other technologies? Is anyone familiar with any SQL statements? What we do
Yes,
in
sir.
other technologies? We need to write some SQL statement, right?
Yes, sir.
What is it? Is it DML or DCL?
DML.
DDL, I think.
Sir, sir, data definition language, sir.
DDL. We write DDL statements, create table name, and we need to maintain the fields. We need to write that SQL query. But here in SAP ABAP, you don't need to write any query to create the table. Okay. We just go through some navigations. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, ABAP, like, it is, you don't need to write always coding, right? You have to design some layouts. You need to create tables and data types. That doesn't include any programming. These are just, you need to understand the navigations. Okay, clear?
Sir, clear.
For example, we defined one value with the character type, and we are start using it, and we created some data in the table. Can we change it to other data type after some time? Can we change it to the different data type?
No, sir.
We can change the data type of field at any time, but you need to observe something. When you are converting, when you are changing character field data type to number, that is difficult. That is not possible. Can you observe here? Wherever you see cross marks, okay, it is difficult to change the data type, because if you change the data type, you are going to lose the existing data in the table. You are going to lose the existing data in the table. Okay.
Yes, sir.
When you are trying to change character data type to number type, that is very difficult. Changing from character data type to number data type, that is very difficult. There is a risk of losing the data when you are trying to change it, because what is the values character data type can accept, including
Only
alphabets, numbers, right?
alphabet
Numbers
numbers.
and special characters, any value it will accept. But when you change the data type of that field into number type, if there is already a value in that field, what will happen? Number cannot accept character types, right? Like alphabets are special characters, right?
Yes, sir.
You are going to lose all that data. But changing from number type to character type is easy, because character can accept any value, including special characters. Yes.
Yes, sir.
But changing from character to number is difficult. If there are any character type values in that field, if there are only numbers, even though it is character type, you did not maintain any alphabets or special characters. In that case, it would be easy to convert from character to number. But in case if you are maintaining any character values like alphabets or special characters, it is difficult. You are going to lose the data. Okay.
Yes, sir. Clear.
But you can convert it from number types to integer types to character type very easily. Okay. Once you created the table, if you assigned a wrong type, if you want to change it later, changing from character to number is difficult, but number to character is easy. Okay. But it is possible. It is possible to change the data type. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Please understand, these are basics to our to create the programs. If you are able to understand this, you can easily create the programs. Okay, and easily create the tables. Okay. Tables just will include some navigations, no coding required for to create the tables. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
As of now.
Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay. Now we'll discuss about data objects. Data objects. Please remember this terminology, data objects. Data object is nothing but where we store some value in program runtime. By using data objects, what we do? We store some value in memory during program runtime. Okay? During program runtime, we store some value in the memory. Right? When these data objects will be active? When the data objects will be active only in the program runtime. Data objects will be active only in program runtime. Right? These are, we are not going to store values permanently in data objects. These will be active only during the program runtime. Once the program execution is completed, whatever the memory allocated for these data objects will be deleted,
Vanished.
vanished or deleted. Yeah, I think it is most common in any programming language. Okay. So what are the data objects in ABAP we use? Variable is one data object. Constant is one data object. What is variable? Variable is nothing but one single value.
Single value.
Single value like employee name. Employee name is one variable. Constant is also one single value. Constant is also one single value. But what is the difference? Value of the variables can be changed in the program. First you assign one value and after some time you can assign a different value, right? Depends on some condition in the program. But for constants, Once you assigned the value, you cannot change that value. That is the difference between variable and constant.
Constant.
Variable value of the variable can be changed, but value of the constant cannot be changed in the
Cannot
program
be
runtime.
changed.
This is variable and constant. Observe here work area. Work area. What is work area? Work area holds a record. A record. What is a record? Collection of some
Data.
meaningful fields, some meaningful information. So it is a complete record. What is employee master record? Employee master record will contain employee ID, employee name, city, branch, department. That is a complete record, right?
Yes, sir.
Field means employee ID is one field, employee name is one field, city is one field. We use variables for these individual fields. If it is a complete record, we use which one? Work area.
Area.
To maintain a complete record in the program runtime, all these data objects we use only during program runtime.
Program
Once the
runtime.
program execution is completed, all of these will be vanished. This is just for our calculations in the program level to hold the data, in program level. Data will be permanently stored in a database. Once we get the data from database, in the program runtime to hold the data in some place, we use these data objects like variable, constant. If it is a complete record, we use work
Work
area.
area.
And internal table. Internal table is also temporarily created in the program runtime. It will allocate memory only in the program runtime. But what is the difference? In internal table, we can maintain multiple
One or more
records,
Multiple
records,
data.
sir.
multiple records. But in work area,
Yes.
we can maintain only one record at a time. Only
Yes.
one record at a
Single.
time. Okay? That is the difference. But from where you are going to get these records? You need to select it from database, or you can populate your own values. You can select it from the database values, database tables, and hold the data in the work area or internal table. If you select only single record, which one you are going to use?
Work area.
Work area. If you are selecting multiple records, which one you are going to use?
Internal table.
Internal
If
table.
you are going to select only a single field,
Then
that
we
for
create a
example
variable.
employee ID, you are selecting only employee ID, you are not selecting any other data. Single record that contains only single field, that is at the time we use a variable.
Variables.
Clear? If you want to maintain a value which should be same throughout the program runtime,
Go with
it should not be
constant.
changed, at the time we use a
Constant.
constant. Yeah.
Constant.
Now this is the syntax to define the variable. What is the keyword we use? Data. Data is the keyword we use to define the variables. Here we provide the variable name, type. What is the type of the variable? And here we provide data type. For example, type C, type N, type I, packed decimal, etc. For constant also, declaration of the constant, we use constants and constant name, type and data type. Right? For constant, we need to provide the value also. Clear? What is the statement we use to define the variables? Data. This is the syntax. This is the syntax to define the work area. For work areas also, we use data statement to define the work areas. But here we don't take only a single field data type. Here we take tabular structure reference. We'll see once we are creating the programs. Right? What is the keyword to define the data objects? Data statement.
Data.
Okay. For constants, constants. And constant name, type, data type. Then
Data type.
these you can see these names right in between these brackets. These names we have to provide. We have to name them. We have to provide a proper name. Okay. For example, I'm defining one variable for employee name. How can I define? Data. It's a variable, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll follow
E-
some naming standards. LV underscore e name type C length 40.
20.
Length 40. What is this e name? This is the variable to store the
Variable name.
employee name, right? This is standard type. Whatever I've typed in uppercase, right? These are standard syntaxes. You have to use the same syntax. Okay. This lowercase value, we need to provide some meaningful name. Okay. Can we give like this? Can we give variable name like this for employee name? Can we store
Yes,
employee name
sir.
in
But
this? Yeah, we can give this name as well. It won't give any error. But when you look at this variable, can you like identify what is the use of this variable?
no, sir.
You cannot
It is
identify.
meaningful.
Yeah, this is not meaningful name, right? For that reason, in programs when you are writing, always try to provide some meaningful names as short as possible. Okay, that is very important in writing programs, following the naming conventions. Okay,
Yes, sir.
writing program is not enough. You have to follow naming standards as well. Is everyone clear about this?
Yes,
Any
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Clear.
objections?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll stop here. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, tomorrow we'll start using these data types to create the program. Okay,
Sir,
yes,
can you explain metadata, sir?
okay. So metadata is nothing but data about data. Now, what is the metadata of this employee name? Character, length 40. That is called metadata. Property of the value. What is the data type of it? What is the length of it? Right? That is
Okay,
called
sir.
metadata.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Data is actual value. Data means the actual value. Metadata means property of that value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir, we require previous recorded videos, sir.
Okay.